Yeah, my John is on. If anybody's live, can you hear us okay?
Can we see what they're saying? Oh, there's a comment thing.
We don't know. All right,
We
anyway.
don't know.
So do you have, is this YouTube versus, when you say you're live, what is live?
We are
So
live on YouTube.
we are streaming
yes.
this live. It's just showing us, so I can turn it around so it shows you guys. Yeah.
I'm gonna put this somewhere.
So yeah, I don't know if we're sitting on the right side, but I am Mo, and this is Katie. And you guys were at the dinner last night too, right?
We were not.
Oh, you want to tell them what they missed last night at dinner?
You missed pulled pork and
Macaroni and cheese.
really good mac and cheese. It was,
That was
very
good.
good. It was very good.
Yes. Yep.
Oh, you saw us at breakfast. All right. Were we behaving? I don't remember.
Probably not. So one of the things that we do, we do have a podcast we've had for a few, actually we had it since 2020.
We started it mid-March 2020. Ring a bell, anyone? We got together and batch recorded 3 video podcasts, and then we didn't see each other for 4 months.
Yeah. And her husband texted her. He's like, "You need to come home. The governor just shut down the state of Maryland." We're like, "Oh, okay."
Okay, bye.
But yeah, so we started that. It was just more because we found ourselves funny. And so we said, you know what?
We thought others might too. We're not sure.
We don't know. But the thing that we've kind of toggled back and forth from talking about unforgettable experiences or positive disruptors, but really what we focus on is gratitude, humor, and positivity. So we come from a perspective of there's always ways to look at things. So whether you're in a situation that's just a mundane thing or it's a monumental event, there's always something positive that can come out of it. And there's always something that you can be grateful for. And it's kind of adding positivity versus knocking people down. So that's, oh, hey, how you
Friends are
doing?
here.
Oh, okay, now the flight suits are here.
Intro. Is this working?
That's what I'm saying. Hi, Amy. Amy, how does our sound?
Amy's there. Hi, Amy.
Amy's
Yay. Amy says hi, ladies.
I know. I said, how does our sound?
She said we sound great.
Okay, awesome.
Thanks, Amy.
Come on in. Splash Stone's in the front. Yeah. This is the shy group that just came in.
Yeah, we're really very shy.
Awesome. Well, we'll start again. So I am Mo.
Wait, we have to do our standard intro. We have this standard intro and we often can't remember our lines, and that's a shame because they're very easy. So it starts off like this. Hey, everybody.
I'm Mo.
And I'm Katie. And this is
The Mo and Katy Show.
See, it doesn't seem like that hard.
Yeah.
We are coming live from the WASP World War II Words Out of Order National Museum.
Women Airforce Service Pilots.
See, Gringo.
That
See.
is so perfect. Thank you. In Sweetwater, Texas, that I know. And we have been here. Hey, we're hanging out with some really amazing people in our studio audience today.
Yes. Well, and so one of the things we were talking, so here's another thing that we say every time we record a podcast, before we hit record, and this is the first time we've ever gone live, but before we hit record, we're like, well, let's just see what happens.
So we're going
good luck to all of you. But now that we're going live, it's a little bit different.
That's right.
But the thing that we've been really recently focusing on is positive disruptors, in that people who do things that create a positive emotional change. And I think that's the biggest thing. I think, especially now in this world, we need that more than ever, is just being positive, because there's always a negative way to look at something, or there's just a way that we can just lift people up versus knocking them down.
And
I got some real zingers. I can knock people down for sure.
Some of the people that we've talked about in the vein of positive disruptors, we've talked about Mr. Rogers, because we are big Mr. Rogers fans, how he, changed the way that education is done. I can see we talked about Dolly Parton and how she just delved into like getting books for kids and was a pioneer in the music industry as a woman, doing a lot of things that women didn't do. We talked about the guy that invented the ballpoint pen. That was a fun one.
Yeah. So the guy who invented the ballpoint pen, just like people who look at things just a little bit differently and don't take no for an answer, which I think is very fitting from the Women Airforce Service Pilots. And we're sitting here looking at their pictures and their drawings, and I am ashamed to say, as a female military aviator, when I was at the Air Force Academy, I did not know about the WASP. And I'm ashamed to say that because I should have. And I think the biggest thing is knowing what these women did. And one of the things we talked about last night at the dinner is a lot of times when you think you're the first or you think you're the only, you think you're alone. And when somebody has done something that you're doing and has done something similar, has overcome some other obstacles, you're not alone. And so I think that's why it's important for me to share these stories. And we were talking earlier, you said your mom did talk about it or didn't talk about being a WASP.
A little bit. She'd say the funny things or the dad, same thing.
Yeah.
The funny things.
And so you were telling us your mom met your dad because as a B-17 pilot, your mom was his instructor, right?
That's really cool.
I love that. I love a good role reversal because it's unexpected. So that's the other
Exactly.
thing is it's unexpected. But the other thing that was really exciting to me for this weekend was Katie is about as civilian as they come.
True story.
Yeah. So when we were first meeting, we met about 5 years, 6 years. God, it's felt like a decade. But
I know, you're so lucky.
am I though?
My military experiences, I think I watched MASH a few times when I was growing up.
And she couldn't even spell that.
Yeah.
So, but one of the things that's really cool here is I was excited for you to be around all these firsts, and we were hanging out at someone's RV last night, and I was sitting next to Betty Pressler, who was the first F-16 female F-16 pilot, and then I think you were talking to an AC-130 pilot, and much younger than you, but it was dark, so that's all masked, But I think the opportunity to look at people who are doing things, and the another reason that I think it's important to talk about the WASP and as positive disruptors is I didn't know about them. I wasn't educated about them, and I should have known about them. And the fact that, we talked about Beverly Bass last night, and she went through some struggles. Like, we shouldn't have to be struggling all over again. So, like, are you guys dealing with the B-52 Baronesses over there? Are you dealing with any struggles being a female in a rather male-dominated company, the Air Force, and a male-dominated profession, aviation, and a male-dominated plane, the B-52?
It's 3 strikes right
Yeah.
there, ladies.
Like, are you still, if you don't want to be on, you can just,
The jet that doesn't have a lab? Yeah. a little bit.
oh, you don't have a toilet.
Oh,
Oh, no, it's straight up a urinal. It is just like.
wow.
I did not know that.
There's
So
only a urinal.
the B-52, so at
Didn't
least
know
in the
that.
C-130, they had a bucket. I mean, at least there's some physics
Is this gonna be a
problems
podcast
involved.
about bathrooms?
It could be. I do
Very
have a
well
good
could
potty
be.
humor.
So we have a bucket as well, but I wouldn't call it like, private.
Okay.
Wow.
And when we were talking earlier, which one of you had the 35-day flight? Who was that?
It was not 35 days, it was a 36-hour flight.
So a 36-hour flight with a
Slight
bucket.
exaggeration.
With a bucket. So do you just like severely dehydrate? Or these are questions I have, you guys.
Tactical dehydration, which is not tactical.
Or healthy.
Or healthy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kidneys don't love that. That's not good. Wow.
So that's interesting to me. I have so many questions that I'll maybe just wait till later.
Amy's shocked. and-
So yeah, so Amy's like, what? And I think there's 4 A's and 5 T's, and she says no
Couple-
toilets.
And 3 total question marks.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
Across a lot of the platforms, like bladder relief for women in general is just very difficult. You've experienced it in the fighter community.
The fire community, we've been very proactive about it. In 2003, when I was first going to cross the pond, so across the Atlantic Ocean for deployment, the answer that life support had, now aircrew flight equipment, was depends. And I physically
like they didn't know. They said
No.
Oh, the diapers.
The diapers.
diapers, like diapers. And I was like, well, I physically can't make myself do that, so we need another plan. So we went to a camping store and got what's called a travel john. So it's like a female
Wow.
funnel. And so
A female funnel.
Yeah. So because we're strapped into a seat.
Yeah.
right? And so over the years, we've developed women's flight suits with longer zippers. We've developed some different bladder relief devices. We just came out with a new one
Wow.
this month so that you can not have to unstrap to use it. So the ladies in the B-52 or the defenders out in the missile fields
Yeah.
can not have to take their uniforms off to use the facilities.
Wow.
And so, but I said 25 years.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah. Yep.
So it's still a struggle, and for us, it's not about being different. It's about having safe, combat effective equipment
Right.
so we can execute the mission.
Right.
Wow.
Well, again, that whole mission effectiveness, and I think that's the bottom line that's what you want in your military, right? So like these little things that I was actually not aware of that. So I think that's the other thing that we talk about when we talk about positive disruptors is sharing these stories and sharing these facts, because people don't know what they don't know. And I think being able to be educated on that and we're waving people in.
Well,
here.
and talk about being a positive disruptor, that you had the courage to stand up and say, no, that's not okay. We're not going to do that. And I love that, because you've paved the way for others to have an easier experience because of you disrupting that. So that's really awesome.
But
That's
you
really awesome that
smirk
did that.
like, am I a disruptor?
Well, yes, I'm glad we did it. I wasn't alone in this, but it's sometimes disheartening how long it takes, because there are so few women that are flying fighters, and even fewer women that are flying fighters. The logistics supply chain is an issue.
Right.
Because you have to have enough of an order to get chain moving again.
Yeah.
And so it comes in fits and starts. And so it really needs to be much more seamless, which is one of the big things that the ladies are working on now, is recognizing like, hey, we can't wait until we have an order for 250. There's not 250 of us.
Wow.
So,
There's 10 up in, like 10 female aviators.
10?
Why not?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's fascinating. Well, so I don't want to talk about your mom's toilet habits, but do you? I mean, apparently we're going to, but what kind of struggles that are similar to that did your mom ever talk about? Like what kind of struggles did the WASP have that you know about?
Yeah, she really didn't talk about struggles because she was so thrilled to be flying.
Yeah,
That's always her answer. I was just so thrilled to be, like when they were still, they didn't get the benefits and all that.
Yeah.
She was very positive.
Yeah.
And she just had a way of saying, well, we're just so thrilled to be flying.
Yeah.
And I think part of that was at that age, they were the first ones.
Yep.
And so they weren't expecting a lot of stuff. That other stuff would have been nice, but she did have a flag on her coffin, and
Good.
I got the Congressional Medal of Honor. So those things were wonderful.
That's awesome.
Amazing.
Well, that love of flying. I mean, I don't think we would be putting up with a bucket or tactical dehydration if we didn't love what we were doing too, right? So there's something to be said for the things that we have to overcome because we love doing that. And I think that was another thing that I love reading and hearing the stories about the WASP, because I always thought the WASP were so prim and proper. I mean, these are, it's actually just, I'm looking on the wall, I'm looking at their smiles, and now I can see it.
I see the orneriness.
I can see it.
I like it.
I think women in the 40s, I'm thinking, okay, they're, proper and stuff. And another thing that came out when Katie and I were getting ready for this weekend is Katie brings the musical element to our duo. And so we went through the WASP songbook, and we were learning all the different songs. And we've been rehearsing for a couple months, and it wasn't literally just a couple days ago when we were singing. What was the song?
We were singing
Buckle Down,
Zoot Suits and Parachutes.
Zoot Suits and Parachutes, which was one of the favorite songs for a lot of the women.
And this is, catchy.
Yeah, and I was saying at the brunch,
Yeah, it's kind of nice.
Yeah, like, do you ever just sing a song and you're just singing the lyrics, and then when you stop and think about it, you're actually singing something about slapping your mama and something foul.
That's not quite what it was about. But
so we're singing this and we're rehearsing, and all of a sudden she goes, "Oh, I just got it." Because basically the nature of the story is this woman
cuddles with the other pilot, and
then he leaves.
May have a daughter or a son.
Yeah, he says, like, I don't know, what kind of damage I've done.
So we're literally in my studio and we're playing and practicing, and I just full stop was like, oh, wait a second. That's what that means. Takes me a minute sometimes.
But what I love about that is they were doing something that was so mission critical for the U.S. and the war effort, but they didn't take it so seriously or take themselves so seriously that they couldn't have the time to make parodies and stuff. And I don't know if there's any rugby players online or here, but I played rugby at the academy, and the songs were foul. And I'm embarrassed. Like, I would never tell my mom. And if I had kids, I would never tell them what I sang. But to me, it was kind of like that. And seeing what they did, and music, I think, is a powerful thing. And I think when you look at what they did, and sometimes, I don't know if you guys have songs up there and you sing about the urinals in the B-52, or maybe
we could write you one if you'd like.
But I mean, it's something that you do, and again, that unifies you, right? Because these women were all doing something unique, and they were bringing something needed and necessary, and finding that relief, again, in music. I'm using the word relief, and I don't mean to be, you see, you got it. Yeah, thank you.
You're in big trouble
Oh,
if you
nice.
keep doing that.
but the other thing, like look at that one. See,
It was a
Lisa
little
got
bit of
the
slow burn. I like
yeah,
that.
I like
Okay.
But the other thing too is in talking, I'm going to moderate a panel at 1:00, but talking to the WASP and talking to the kin at the brunch was super fabulous.
Mhm.
But like Nell Bright, who is 103 and 10 months, and her daughter's here. So I'll call Nell every once in a while up in Utah and talk to her. And Lisa will tell me, she'll prompt me. She'll say, what stories to get out of Nell? And one of them was, I think the information I was given was, Nell knows something about almost killing men in a pool and something about strafing at a dunk tank. So I'm like, so I called Nell, 103,
Tell
sharpest
me the
attack,
story,
and
Nell.
I said, Lisa said to ask you something about almost killing a bunch of guys and strafing in a dunk tank. She goes, oh yeah, that was my friend Candy. She was out flying the P-47 and she's flying around and she kind of looked down, saw the dunk tank, saw a bunch of guys in there just splashing around. So she's like, I'm gonna get a little closer. By closer, meaning strafing. So like she got down there, she said the guys all ducked or they jumped out and they were so scared, and they were even more scared when they found out that it was a woman that had done that to them. And I'm like, you should have gone through a second pass. I appreciate that. So, but again, that ability to do, we couldn't get that stuff away now, could we? Like, yeah, even in Top Gun, it's like negative Maverick, the pattern is full. You couldn't get away with that stuff. But the stuff that they got away with, and a lot of it is the why behind doing that. Again, somewhere there are 5 or 6 guys telling their grandchildren about the time that they almost got killed while they were in a dunk tank by a woman strafing in a P-47. So I love those kinds of stories. And the other thing about, going back to the point where I didn't know about the WASP when I was going through pilot training, when I was going through the Air Force Academy, is all the more reason we need to share these stories and tell them. And I'm glad that your mom actually talked about it, because we're finding a lot of WASP didn't share their stories for whatever reason. I think it's part of that time too. It was you get married, have babies, maybe in that order, maybe not.
And zoot suits and parachutes.
Yeah, so like cuddling in the cockpit. But there was another story I loved, and I'm going to talk to Peg DiBenedetto. She was talking, and one of her mom's best friends was Martha. And if you have, I have this book over here. I think it's On Final Approach.
Want me to get it?
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. It's called On Final Approach, and it's just like this collection of all these stories and stuff. But
It's a big book.
yes, it makes me look really erudite when I sit and read it.
So smart.
So Peg was telling me that Martha, they were in line in Jackie Cochran, or they were getting ready to do the morning reveille and doing formations, and she said, does anybody know how to play the bugle? Because they need to do reveille and taps. So Martha's hand shot up. She's like, yep, I got it. So she's like, okay, you're in charge of reveille, you're in charge of taps tonight. So dismissed. Martha did not have a bugle. So she went down to a pawn shop. They gave her some little time off, went down to a pawn shop, got a bugle. They get up the next morning for reveille. And I don't know, how do you describe the cacophony of noises that came out of the bugle? It was not a skilled noise. Martha didn't know how to play the bugle, but she always wanted to learn.
So now is the perfect time.
Well, again, captive audience. So if I can find it, I'll let you.
And and let me come at this from a music educator standpoint. It's kind of a bold move right there. Just to look at an instrument and be like, yeah, I think I could play that. Let's just see what happens. And I would imagine, the bugle's not known for being very it's not the prettiest instrument anyway. So
No offense to any bugle players
yes,
here, or for your
all-
bugle aficionados.
all due
yeah.
respect, but just to I was going to say blow on it, see what happens, but I think you would take that in the wrong direction. So I'm not going to say that. So
I kind of feel like you already did.
I have to really
now I
prove that my
can't focus.
sentences
Yeah.
sometimes.
Where's her name? Okay. Anyway, if you guys get this book, it's called On Final Approach, and it's just the wording that they use is hilarious. I'm trying to find
Yeah.
the one about that, but the other thing I look at again is, I don't know if you've picked up, but humor is really important to Katie and I.
We kind of like it.
And just the amount of humor that I think was necessary.
Mhm.
I mean, I think you have to have that. And so, like Sam, how many female AC-130 pilots? I'm sorry, Lauren, how many female AC-130 pilots?
I only know 2
Wow.
Ever, or 2 right now?
right now. currently.
Yeah. And do you have a urinal in your bathroom or your plane, or do you have, why do we keep going back to
Why are we
toilets?
talking about bodies?
We do have
hole, but there's no curtain or anything.
Okay, so the
gosh.
privacy is still an issue
So
for
we're back to
everybody.
the, yeah, this is a
Yeah.
problem.
So I just, I am always amazed by the use of humor, the use of music,
Yeah.
and the use of practical jokes. Like, did your mom tell you practical jokes? We'll get away from the toilet humor. Are there any other kin of WASP here? Oh, you are
Oh.
representing the entire fleet, so
That's a,
I love that too.
yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
That's
Did
fantastic.
she ever talk about any practical jokes or humor stuff?
Practical jokes.
Yeah. Any practical
Oh,
jokes?
I'm sure they had a lot.
I know, but I would like to know.
She talked about snakes. She went, the girls went on a picnic one day out in the desert.
The-
whatever that is. I
the
guess it
desert.
looks a little different.
Yeah,
Like
here.
over there, down
And
the
they
street.
didn't know about snakes, and so they were told when they came back not to do that because of snakes, so they didn't do it again.
That'll learn you. So speaking of snakes, I think well, also this is Sweetwater, Texas, which is, it has the world's largest annual rattlesnake roundup. And I don't know if there's like a semi-annual one that has dibs on the bigger one, but Sweetwater, Texas is the rattlesnake roundup. So we got
Or if
rattlesnakes.
there are other types of snake roundups, I don't know. I kind of want to take a deep dive. Is it just rattlesnakes? Is there a gardener snake roundup? That does not sound as exciting. Come here, guys. Come here, buddy.
Have you not seen a snake before? That they don't come
I
like
know
a dog.
that you don't like snakes.
I don't like snakes.
No, you don't like snakes at all.
Here's why I don't like snakes. The other reason I don't like snakes. So we have a pool on our main deck, Jen and I have, and then on the second deck it's a second floor. And I'm sitting on the back deck and I look up on the second level and there's a snake. That's when I learned that snakes could climb. So Jen and I, so my wife is also a retired Air Force colonel pilot, and
So brave.
yeah, and combat tested. We've both flown in combat, and we are strong, independent women. And there's a snake on the second floor. Fortunately, we had some gentlemen working on the pool, and we were able to call them from inside the safety of our own house to let them know there was a snake that we needed them to get.
Come hit it with a stick.
Yeah, I was
Fling it.
don't like snakes.
There was
Anyway,
a snake flinging video that
Yeah,
I then
yeah.
subsequently received on my phone.
Yeah,
So
it was-
I
so-
enjoyed that.
we also do rabbit trails. That was one of them. Snakes. Snake was a common thing until you got me off on the gardener snake roundup. So there was another story with the WASP talking about the rattlesnakes here, and they were like the new classes would come in, and the old classes would say, "Yeah, there's snakes here, so just be careful." So the new trainee, like that first night, you're in a new place, you're doing a new mission, you know about these snakes now, and there was one barracks, and there was another barracks with all the new trainees. And in the middle of the night, they hear screaming come from here. So these guys, rattlesnakes be damned, they run across and there's this trainee and she's like still sleeping and she's grabbing her arm and she's flailing, and they finally wake her up. They're like, "What happened?" She's like, "Oh, I fell asleep on my arm. My arm fell asleep. And then I woke up and I was conscious of something under my body and I thought it was a snake." So she's grabbing her own arm. So I'm like, happy first day. So like, those are the kind of stories that are in here. But I'm going to read about Martha. So, and they say, "And by the way, does anyone blow a bugle?" Martha Wagenseil, one of the smallest members of Class 43-2, does not, but has always wanted to. Up goes her hand. She will, however, need a pass on Saturday to go in town and find a bugle. According to Scuttlebutt, she finds one in a pawn shop. Over the weekend, trainees sharing the tourist court do laundry and shampoo their hair to the untuned snarls and snorts and shrieks the bugle vents.
Wait, there were snarls
Snorts
and
shrieks.
shrieks?
And snorts.
Those are not musical terms,
Yeah.
by the way.
Martha's cheeks and mouth are sore, but she keeps on, and by Monday morning, she can and does step forth to blast a somewhat strangled morning call, flatting and snorting in a most extraordinary way. Her
Wow.
cronies suggest she practice underwater. But I think that's just awesome. And listening to people, again, strafing and just wanting to play. So also I learned from talking to Peg Benedetto, Martha was also a woman. She came from money. She lived in California, and she also always wanted to learn to fly a plane. So she bought a plane and found someone to teach her how to do it. So again,
It's more of a
bu-
commitment than a bugle.
yeah, the bugle thing is right in line with how she kind of approaches life. But I love that. I like,
Yeah.
you want to do something, make it happen. If that means you've got to buy the thing first and then find someone to teach you, or just never be real. I hope Martha was a better pilot than she was a bugler. So
With the snarls, snorts, and shrieks, I can't be quite sure.
That's about how my landings went too.
Another thing that we were talking about too is the power of being curious too about other people's stories. And that's something we've really enjoyed about being here and asking each person that we are able to talk to, say, what brought you here? Not your car, not your plane, but do you know, are you related to a WASP? Are you friends with someone who is related to a WASP? Are you just curious because
Are you
didn't
here for the
know that
rattlesnake
this was here?
roundup? Yeah.
Are you here for the macaroni and cheese? Because that's legit. But just to be curious, because again, the women of this age were not ones that tended to talk about or tell their stories unless they were asked. And it makes me wonder how many of us are walking around with stories that are about flying airplanes or just any situation where you have to be brave that don't get told because others don't have enough curiosity. Sometimes we need someone to be brave and ask us the questions for us to tell our stories.
I think people need to be brave and share their stories.
We don't have a bleep budget today, by the
I
way.
know.
We often, we are always able to edit, post, and bleep, and so I'm keeping.
But here's
an
the
eye
thing.
on-
So yes, we need to be curious, but I think even more important is we need to share. And I think that a lot of times we call it playing the game, right? If someone says, "How you doing?" Fine. Like, I'm okay, and here's why. But like, have a conversation, look people in the eye. We love awkward eye contact. You know what I mean? It's just like make it really, really weird.
Super awkward.
Yeah, there's a fine line between eye contact and maniacal stare.
Creepy.
But tread that. Yeah, I know. But I think it's important to be curious, and I think it's important to share your stories because we all have a story, and I think we've all been the first. We talked about this last night. We've all been the first or only at something, and it doesn't have to be this random, sitting next to Betty Pressler, who was the first female F-16 pilot. I think it's important that we
was
look.
pretty cool.
Yeah, she was like, yeah, she was sitting next to you, Lauren, and she
Talked
looked
to
over. She
Lauren
goes,
last night.
like, I'm sitting between an AC-130 pilot and the first,
No big deal.
Yeah. But here's the thing. It may not be a big deal. Do you guys realize how big a deal it is what you do?
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Sometimes I think we forget the things that we're doing, whether we're the first person in our family who went to college or whether we're the first person who served in the military. All these things that we take for granted need to be shared because there are people who don't even know it's possible. And here's another thing I talk about. The WASP, I think a lot of times, Lisa, we talked about this one time where the WASP would go down in their uniforms downtown and people thought they were flight attendants or probably stewardesses in that day, right? And until they correct them, people think that there's a bunch of stewardesses for some rattlesnake roundup convention in Sweetwater, Texas. But I also know that, come in.
We won't make a big deal of it.
Did we lock the door?
She's like, no,
I'm going to take it personally.
frightening.
So we're pushing on a pull door. No, but I think it's important that we share why are we wearing this uniform? Why did we sign up? Why are we serving? Why are we here? Why are we doing anything? It's to do this collective thing and to make sure that we are disrupting positively together. I think that's important too.
And I think it's obvious how these women were positive disruptors, but we've all got the potential to be positive disruptors in one way or another.
Well, until I met Katie, I was just a disruptor. And I think, but
tried to turn her away from the dark
yeah,
side.
good luck with that.
But all of us have things in our life that we can look for ways to be the first and only. We talked about that at the dinner a little bit last night, but also just ways to blaze our own trail.
Yeah.
And it may not be for, I don't know how to fly a plane. Looks like it'd be cool though. But there are other
I've
things.
seen you drive. I don't think you should fly a plane. So,
but there are other things even in my life where I can look to be a positive disruptor.
Yeah.
And all of us have that opportunity. And I think that's really a cool way. It's like challenge accepted. What can you do in your life to do something in a way that nobody's ever done it and affect people in a positive way? And it's
so like,
just inspiring.
what interesting stories have you learned this weekend?
So I didn't learn it this weekend, but
That doesn't count then. I need. I'm just kidding, Gringa.
when I was at Air Command and Staff College, we had a program called Gathering of Eagles, and they still have it.
Yep.
And I'm trying to get in contact with them to get copies of. For years, they had a WASP on the panel every year. So trying to get copies of that for the museum. But I was fortunate enough to become friends with and interview Gloria Heath,
Cool.
who later went on to be absolutely instrumental in a lot of aviation safety and search and rescue and things after the WASP. But when she was a WASP, she was one of the pilots who would tow the aerial banners. So for those online, if you don't know, if you ever are, at a sporting event and you see a plane like towing a banner with words, we do that. We still do that today, but we do it with drones, right? And so they would tow a giant target behind, and then the male pilots would do their gunnery practice on this towed target, and they would land, and Dan, she would pull the film out, and then they would all run over to Intel to develop the film and play it. And the guys were there to see how close they came to actually hitting the target, and Gloria was there to see how close she came to dying.
Yeah.
My gosh.
And it's just amazing to me, because now we convert F-16s to QF-16s that are remote controlled, that tow the target so that they don't get shot down.
Right.
Back then we didn't have it, so somebody actually had to volunteer to tow a target to be shot at with live ammunition.
Yeah, I think that let's take a moment to think about this. You're willingly getting in a plane to tow something behind you for training purpose, so someone can shoot as a trainee that thing that you're towing behind. I mean,
And the shooter's a trainee, so they're probably not great at it yet.
Yeah.
I'm going to venture to say.
And I have talked to I talked to a son of one of the WASP, and he's like, yeah, his mom said once in a while they come home with bullet holes in their plane because the trainee missed the target, which not good. I mean, I don't know how much y'all know about flying, but bullet holes in the plane, not good. Yes.
And just to piggyback on that, so Dawn Seymour, who's one of the beautiful ladies on this wall, she did that. She towed a target B-17 aerial to aerial. And but the thing that struck me, she describes it in detail, and it's amazing because it was 4 to 5 different steps. But the thing that really struck me, she said, these young boys got 2 aerial missions, 2 training sessions.
Jeez.
And then they were off to war.
Oh my gosh.
And she said, so what we were doing meant everything. Because if they didn't learn here, they might not make it back.
Yeah.
And that just, I don't know. I think that was the greater good for them, was realizing like everything we're doing right now, those men depend on it. And
Right.
I'm sure you ladies feel the same way.
Right. Well, and it's
Wow.
important to, again, when you understand your role in the bigger picture, I think that's another thing too, is, yeah, we're not just towing targets so that people can shoot at us, but we're doing it because we are training people. We're also doing it because no one else wanted to fly the plane, and a lot of these things, the men didn't want to tow the targets, understandable. So the women were doing whatever it took because they love flying, because they love their country, because they wanted to serve, because they wanted to contribute. So yeah, but I also look at the WASP and I realize I just love these smiles, but I look at the WASP too and I'm like, I don't know if I could have done it.
Mm.
I question whether I could have done what they did in the face of all the negativity and all the just like the negative influence that was out there, and people, with so many people telling you no. I think we've come into a society where we're always cheering each other, and that's like the whole premise of our thing, is to lift people up and not punch down. I don't know if I could have done it. I really I'd like to think I'm strong, but I don't know that I am.
And a lot of the stories that I've heard is these women, getting themselves here to Sweetwater
On their own dime.
on their own dime. But it was because, and I think about this with Beverly Bass too, is because they just had to fly. They nothing else was good enough. And again, seeing that, like zooming out and seeing that from a broader perspective.
Broader.
Okay, there we go. There's a dame pun in there somewhere, but anyway. But from a broader perspective, we've all got that thing in us that's driving us to do the thing we have to do.
Yeah.
So, you think about, you're going to do whatever it takes to, and I think that's what I'm, again, not having a military background, all this has been amazing and fascinating. I feel like I've learned, I feel like I'm taking like an entire class in WASP, and I'm like, give me the final exam, I'm ready. Let's do it. But just being able to take that, and my world couldn't be more different. I mean, I come from my world is all music and theater and jazz hands and sequins and things like that. But I'm every day prepping kids to go into auditions and sing. And I think about like some of these kids are around the same age when women decided they want to be pilots, and it's just they've got the drive to do something. It's just something else, and getting people to the place that they need to be to do what sets their heart on fire is huge. And I think about too, I see these women, but I also think about their parents. How scary it must have been for their parents to send them across the country to, like, you're going to do what? You're going to go fly a plane? Women have never done that before.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of big life lessons in there, I think.
Yeah.
And I'm really jazzed. See, back to the jazz hands by the whole thing.
Yeah. So aside from towing targets being such a great idea and having people shoot at said target, hopefully hitting it, what else have you learned, like this weekend being here for me to talk? Have you learned anything new about your mom? Have you learned any new facts or maybe things you wish you didn't know about your mom? Like she was singing about this song. What else has anybody learned? Something new you learned? Yes.
I learned a lot about the origin of the museum.
Okay.
I was here this weekend. I got to meet Jean, who was really great. And just to be able to see the evolution. I was here in 2019, and then now I'm back, and just to see how much it's grown and how many more people are here to support it, it just really fills my heart.
Yeah.
Well, and I was here 2 years ago was the last time I was here, and there's been so many changes over there, and I've been watching the videos online of all the work. Lisa, your team is been doing amazing stuff. I mean, but again, all the more reason why we need people to come here and visit, and because you all get it. You all understand now because you've been on the ground here. How many people this is their first time at the museum? Wow, more than half. Okay. I love that you guys are here. However you got here, I mean, whatever brought you here, keep coming back or send people back here or tell people about this because it's really cool. Our next door neighbors in the hotel where we're at are the two daughters of a WASP. And they are from, I don't mean to put down Sweetwater, but
California.
Yeah, I said, oh, you guys, we just passed in the hallway because I'm Chatty Cathy. I was like, are you guys, are you here for the WASP? She goes, I don't know why anyone else would come to Sweetwater, Texas. And I'm like,
what other reason would I be here?
The rattlesnakes, yes, but that was 6 weeks ago.
There's
so
some really good pizza downtown.
Yeah.
I mean,
And so I said, it's great. Are you going to go to like the dinner and stuff? She's like, no, we didn't sign up for anything. I said, why? She goes, we don't know anybody. I go, please come to the dinner. And I talked to Lisa last night, and I gave the lady my number. I'm just giving my number out in the hotel hallway. So it's 911. So
I think you should say you're giving your number out in the hotel hallway.
I did.
That sounds very shady.
Not like I gave out my hotel key, which I did. I needed the key. Anyway, so but I gave her my number. I said, hey, just text me. I said, if you're interested at all. And she goes, well, I don't know anybody. And I said, well, what class was your mom? And I got her mom's name, and we went to the wall in Hangar 2. Found her class, found her mom's name. We took a picture of us pointing at it.
Yeah.
We sent it to her. I said, just please come. I said, and then at the brunch yesterday, one of the guys was talking, his mom was class 44-7, which was these ladies' mom's class. And I said, please come. There is one of your mom's classmates' son is here. Like your moms were classmates. So they came to the dinner last night. We saw her at breakfast this morning, and I'm so glad she came. But again, be curious. And be persistent, and again, the awkward eye contact, but pull people, because I don't know that she would have been involved. And I'm today I need to hook her up with Tom Lucas. So that was her 44-7 was her class. So I've warned Tom. I came up to him. I didn't give him my phone number or my room key, but I said, Tom, your mom's classmate is staying in the hotel, and I did invite him back to our room.
Did you?
That might have been too far.
We have snacks.
But I think it's important for these two to meet. Like, have your mom's classmates or any of your mom's classmates' kids here? That was a whole genealogical.
I don't think so, but other kids that we knew.
Yeah.
Like Dini's daughter.
Yeah.
Nice.
I just think it's great.
Community.
It is. I mean, it's a family. And again, like, it's always amazing to me when you find one thing that you have in common with, whether it's a patch that you're wearing or a ring that you're wearing. Like if anybody else went out and they saw a Fifi, you would zoom in on that.
Yep.
And you'd be like, I know what that is. How are we connected? And all of a sudden you're talking to strangers and you're not strangers anymore. I think that's the powerful thing of what these women did was, and what was the interesting thing you said this morning about the fact that there's no WASP here?
That the fact
I'm going to tell the whole story that Katie said as I prompt her.
Let me tell you what
Hey, tell her where the punchline is. Okay, so.
The fact that there were, and we were talking about the numbers at dinner last night, there were what, 250 people?
270.
270.
That's a lot of macaroni and cheese.
That is a lot of macaroni and cheese. But there were 270 people in a room celebrating women, none of whom were able to be here. And to bring that many people without any of them being here just shows how their legacy is living on. And I
Yeah.
think that's really, really powerful.
Yeah.
To see how people still gather and still remember and keep this, and people still continue. You know, I see people here that are younger, that are interested in what's going on. That's how it's going to continue.
Yeah.
And I just love that.
There are 3 great grandchildren. There's 2 great granddaughters and a great grandson of WASP here. And I love that. I love that they're here, and they may not comprehend exactly, but somewhere in the recesses of their mind is a story that they can tell about someone they're related to. Oh yeah, we're at the brunch yesterday, and you know we're all just sitting there, we're just talking, and then this one lady storms the stage, comes up there, and she goes, "I just want to introduce myself. I'm the great niece of Bessie Coleman."
You could hear a audible gasp. Everybody there was like,
I mean,
it was really
and
cool.
we just posted about Bessie Coleman the other day, and
Yeah.
it's just like, there's a biological genetic connection to Bessie Coleman standing right there next to Lisa. That's bleeping awesome. That's really cool. Thank you. I just think that's really powerful to stand. And again, Bessie Coleman's not here. The WASP aren't here, but they are, right? They are, right? And they will only be here as long as we keep sharing them and getting people back here and getting money to the museum. So I don't even know what Lisa's got planned, but I know it's going to be good because, man, that looks good yesterday. I mean, just seeing Hangar 2.
Lisa doesn't know either, but don't tell anybody.
That's okay. That's okay. But I mean, that's how we keep this legacy alive. And what they did for us, they paved the path so it's not as rocky. It's still rocky for us, but it's not as lonely because of what they've done for us. And that's cool because I still in 97, I was still dealing with, I was flying I was the first female C-27 pilot, which is this little cargo thing down in Latin America. And I was still dealing with men who didn't want to they didn't want to answer me on the radios. They didn't want to be in the plane with me. So one of my favorite stories is we flew 22 Panamanian civic leaders. And so, you know, we stand at the entrance of the plane and we greet each man as they come on board. And so these are all the civic leaders of the city where I'm stationed. And it's the pilot, me, and the loadmaster. And so we're all greeting them on. So they shake the pilot's hand. They give me a kiss on both cheek, and they shake the loadmaster's hand. You know, all the boys high five. All you guys got some kind of special back slap thing. Whatever. So
there's a class that they take.
So then we go onto the plane, and we get all the Panamanian civic leaders go back to the right, and they all go sit down. And the loadmaster stays with them. The aircraft commander goes on, takes a left into the cockpit. I take a left into the cockpit, and we're all on headset. And the loadmaster's like, "You guys, these gentlemen are not listening to a thing I'm saying. They're all staring up into the cockpit because they know there's a girl up there." So I'm like, okay, you know, because it takes a penis to fly a plane, apparently. So
I don't think you should say penis on our podcast.
Well, you just said it. So
whoops.
Anyway, we're even. Penis. I won. 2-1. Anyway, so we get up there and we take off. Did I go too far? It's too late.
Don't you always?
Yep. So we get up there and we get a cruise, and the loadmaster's just giving us all this play-by-play. He's like, they're not listening to a thing I'm saying. I'm like, okay. So we get up to cruise, autopilot's on. I'm doing nothing but sitting. I just have a front row seat. I have a great view. And the aircraft commander goes, "You have the airplane? I'm gonna check off." I'm like, "Where are you going?" He goes, "I'm gonna have a little fun." Okay. Puts his headset down. I'm alone in the cockpit, me and the autopilot. I'm doing nothing, just sitting there. Plane's flight, you know, rock solid. Loadmaster's on the headset, and he's giving me play-by-play, and he goes, "Oh, this is great." He goes, "The aircraft commander went to all 22 men and took his time with that awkward eye contact, of which we are so fond, shaking their hand." So he's shaking hands with them. He's like, all they're doing is, here's his hand shaking, and they're just looking up in the cockpit, and they are like, you know, obviously they're going to die if there's a girl at the cockpit, right? So, spoiler alert, we don't die. We land safely. I'm here to tell you about this story. So we land and we get back, and normally when you survive something harrowing like that, you would kiss the ground, right? No, these boys were all over me. They're just like, no more handshake for the loadmaster, no more handshake for the aircraft commander. It was all about me. Un beso fuerte, like full on, because, and what I love about that story is, again, now there's 22 men talking about the time that they narrowly averted death because they
They
would
flew
so
so close, y'all.
so
You don't even
close,
know.
yeah. But sometimes to prove our competence just means not crashing a plane, right? It doesn't have to be grandiose. I didn't do any. I should have done some.
Oh,
rolls.
you should have done.
It was
some
not an aerobatic plane,
rolls or
so that would have been good. But I think again,
Frowned upon.
sometimes just to prove that we are worthy and that we are there, the bar isn't high, and that's not a bad thing, right? So if it's just not crashing, okay, let's not crash.
I can do that.
Yeah, but I think again, the bar's not high. We just have to. Yep, you guys better go. All right,
Are you in
crew
trouble?
briefing.
All right.
She's gonna go fly, yeah.
Oh, is that Nicole? Is that Nicole who won the? Are you Nicole who won the ride? Nice.
Oh.
Your face. So last night, Nicole won the raffle to get in a ride. Your face was genuine, pure joy and exhilaration, and I loved every inch of your smile. That was fantastic. So have a blast. Take a lot of pictures.
Come here, be on screen, Nicole.
No, she can't. Oh, okay, she can't. Yeah.
She's got her plain hair.
Take your
She's ready to
pictures.
go.
Yes.
Have
Bye.
fun,
Thank you guys for what you're doing. Yeah, just yes.
Can I interject about?
Please interject. Yes.
Yes.
Do they not know the service no longer pays for their travel or any of their time here? And when you ask what brought them here, they came because of what you're doing and this, and what Lisa's doing.
Right.
All on their own
Yep.
dollar.
Yeah, so those four ladies traveled by car, I think it was 23 hours, from Minot, North Dakota,
Oh my gosh.
on their own dime,
Yep.
taking their own time off.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a great point. And that's an important point.
Yes, it is.
Can you do me a favor?
Sure.
Can you make sure that you tell them that you appreciate that they did that?
Oh, we have.
You have?
At the same place, yeah.
Me?
Uh-oh.
Excuse me.
Katie's
I'm
being
in
beckoned.
trouble.
Welcome to the Mo Show.
We have
This
to
is
say we're
fantastic.
having breakfast.
Oh, good. Yeah.
So,
And again, to that point, make sure we tell people, thank you. Make sure we tell people and ask people, why are you here? How did you get here? And what are the sacrifices you made to get there? It's a sacrifice of their time, of their 23 hours in the car with anybody is just not, it's not good. Am I in trouble?
But I do just want to, just to issue a disclaimer that because the ladies that are here on active duty, that their comments are their own comments and not the comments of the Air
Absolutely,
Force.
absolutely.
So just wanted
Absolutely.
to
Nope, fair. Thank you.
let that be known.
Yeah.
So
Well, what year is that?
what year is it?
2025, right?
Yes. Is that a trick question?
Plane landed upside down.
The one that landed upside down a couple of weeks ago? Yeah, months ago? Yeah.
On the news, I read on the news that they had to mention that it was a woman pilot. Now, would they have said it was a man pilot?
Probably not. Probably not.
Interesting.
And it's 2025.
Well, and again, to that point, it's
I don't know
20,
if that's true. I don't care, but you know.
oh, it's 2025. That's true.
Yeah.
Is it?
I don't,
Yes.
yeah, confirmed, yeah.
2025.
Oh, is it? Oh, no. Oh, that's
Oh,
the Saturday, the 26th. It's the 26th, but no, but that's a great point. We don't, when something bad happens, so like there was a NASCAR crash, it was a male driver. Like, yeah,
Like we
you're right,
know.
we don't. But if Danica Patrick were to crash, oh, we'd be all over that. You know, that's my dad would always like this. If somebody's driving bad, my dad's like, probably a woman driver, probably drunk. I'm like, Dad, why? My dad was born in 1918, so in his defense, my dad was in World War II. That is actually his World War II jacket.
Yes.
So my dad was very proud until the Alzheimer's struck in, and he would introduce me as the wife's boy. So not even his boy, but my mom would take that up.
Not even a boy.
He's like, this is the wife's boy, and my mom's like, it's because your hair's so short. It's because you don't wear makeup. I'm like, yes, it's all those things, Mom, not the Alzheimer's. Anyway,
that's what it is.
but my dad was super proud, and one of the things he said, he was an armorer, which is a really hard word to say. He put armament on bombs. Oh, look, a baby.
Hi, baby.
Oh, two babies. Hi, easily distracted by babies and dogs. Yeah.
and squirrels.
But my dad would always say he was so proud of what I did, and he would say, the Air Force trusted my daughter with a plane, but only trusted me with a bike. So I have this little bike brooch pin that I put on his jacket when I wear it. So, but yeah, I think it's important to be proud of what we've accomplished. It's important to be proud of what other people have accomplished. And if these people, if the WASP aren't going to brag for themselves, then we need to do it for them. And that's what I love about this museum. That's what it does. It brags for them because we still have a lot of work to do. Yes, in 2025, if a plane crashes, the first thing we want to know was what gender was at the stick, and it doesn't matter.
No.
The plane was going to flip if there was a boy in there or a girl in there. It just happened to flip. Yeah. But yeah, that is the sad testament of kind of where we are. And the other thing I will say, and I will say this because I am retired, all the erasures and all the 404 things that are happening with erasing. I also do a lot of work at the Medal of Honor Museum. And for a while, they took any African-American Medal of Honor recipient and they changed the URL to DEI Medal of Honor. Like, yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter. They did something heroic and they happen to be African-American. These women did something heroic and they happen to be women. It matters not. We're focusing on the wrong things. So as we continue with all the festivities that are going on this weekend, we really want you to be curious. And even if you're sure that someone you've told them before, tell them again that you're proud of them. Tell them that you know what sacrifice they've made. Ask what sacrifice they made. Ask what they've learned. And my hope for you is that you learn something new about your mom this weekend just by talking to the other family members. You know, like we were at the brunch yesterday and someone's like, I know who was in the car with her. That was my mom who was in the cockpit. And all of a sudden there's this connection that's being made. And I think that's what's important is that connection is what's going to keep carrying this legacy. So we don't have to ask, was it a girl pilot or was it a boy pilot? You know, so.
Something else that we were talking about too, and again, I really enjoyed my role in this was diving deep into the WASP songbook, but also the songs of the era. So the 20s, 30s, 40s, which hands down has like the best music, the best lyrics, the best, just most beautiful chord structures. It was just so much fun. I was like enjoying it, but
Oh, I'm happy for you.
Thank you. But the thing that we were talking about that's so cool about the music is that you can walk around the museum, you can see the uniforms, you can see, you know, the cots, you can see all the things, and you can't try on the uniforms. You can't, you know, you can't be in the airplanes necessarily, but you can, with your same voice, sing the same songs that the WASP sang. So that's something you can try on and wear, if you will.
I love that.
And put yourself in. And man, these lyrics, these ladies were feisty. Like the stuff that they wrote was just a little bit like, oh, all right, Grandma, that's
and if you have a boy, put the bastard in the sky.
That's right. Yeah. So and I think that was one of their expressions of showing how enthusiastic but adamant they were that they could do this. And so that has been that was just a really, really fun deep dive. There's one particular song, it's called the WASP song actually, and it was written like an anthem. And we found out we've got to do a little confirmation, but we think the melody to this song is lost. Because the woman who wrote it has passed and it's not recorded anywhere. So we have the lyrics. And so something I was working on, you know, and we'll talk about this with Lisa's blessing and permission, is I'd like to help like rewrite that and bring that back to, you know, so the WASP can still have those words.
Will
set
it be
to
in
music.
rap format or?
You know, I can't compete with what Nancy did last night on stage.
Yeah.
Nancy,
So Nancy Parrish's mom, Deanie Bishop Paris.
That's a lot of
words are hard.
A lot of consonants.
Did a rap and it was fantastic. And it's like,
awesome.
We got the stuff, the right stuff. Yeah. So again, just hidden talents that people have. And until you give your grandma a beatbox and a drum kit, you just,
That's
in
right.
3 weeks alone in a room, you don't know what she's going to produce. So little surprises like that are important.
And the fact that they did set a lot of them to tunes that we still know, like Deep in the Heart of Texas and Buckle Down Woonsocket and all of this stuff. But man, are those songs earworms. We've been like hurting the last 2 weeks, like Buckle Down Fifi and Ella will not get out of my head or Suits and Parachutes.
Yeah.
But it's just, that is something, that is a way you can actually have the same experience. Again, you can't be in the plane, you can't put on the uniform, but you can sing the songs that these ladies wrote. And there are some recordings of them out in the wild. We've found, I think on Apple Music or something. So that's been just really, really fun. Yeah. It's been fun to be able to do that.
Cool. All right. Justin's got the new baby. I love it.
Oh, it's a baby.
Oh, happy baby. You guys, thank you so much for sitting and letting us talk with you and keep the conversations going, keep sharing. I just think it's so important that we continue to be positive disruptors in our own world, and then let those things reverberate out, because I wish I had known about them sooner so I could be more grateful and talk to more of them while they were alive. At least I get to talk to Nell and thank her for what she did. Because the thanks there's not enough of it, and it's long overdue. And I'm glad they have some things like the Congressional Gold Medal and military status. I mean, being able to be buried in Arlington National Cemetery, which is a fairly recent thing as well. So
Lisa, how many WASP are still living or still with us?
4.
4
4.
out of
Out of
1,100.
1,108.
Out of 1,108.
well, don't make up a number if you don't know.
I love being precise.
Out of
Yes.
1,108, there are 4 that are still with us.
And I owe Mo, kill me for this, but I have to tell a story on Mo because Mo met Nell via Zoom. I
Yeah.
think 5 years ago.
Yeah, we were doing the panel.
And we did a multi-generational panel, and I didn't know Mo at all. Colonel Samantha Weeks put the panel together. She handpicked it. And later she taught me, she said, I gave you the best panel. I gave you Mo Barrett, and you don't even know.
I gave you Mo Barrett.
And she did.
You don't
I
know.
knew that this was going to be like this important, longer relationship. But after the panel, I was talking to Nell, and she said, I like that Mo. She is cool. She is inviting her to my birthday.
Yep, I did. I couldn't make it.
And
I will take being called cool by a WASP any day.
And you know, they don't say things they don't mean.
Aw.
And I just, that look in her eyes, just like, there was this connection, which is most kept. And Katie's apparently.
Yeah.
She didn't know Katie, and it's a package deal, now do not come here without Katie.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm hoping they put 104 candles on her cake, like literally, on Nell's cake. That needs to
I
happen.
think that's a fire hazard.
Well, along the lines of other things that Mo won't be crazy about, I just want to give a shout out to this book that is sitting up here. This is part of my quirk. This is a
is Justin's
collection
fault.
of stories by Mo. I do have to say that I had a hand in this because, as a good best friend does, the day before the artwork for the cover was due, I basically made her change the title because I didn't think it was quite, I thought she could do better. And I told her that. She's like, why did you wait to tell me this until the day before the artwork was due? But you know, we do.
The book was supposed to be called The Thoughts That Go Through My Head, and Yes, They're Real. But,
Yeah, yeah. But I was like, you can do better than this. So this is, thank you. Confirmed. But this is a collection. And the great thing about this is each chapter is its own story. And there are a lot of stories about flying in here. I would say each of them, obviously, because it's Mo, each of them have humor to them. But they're also very poignant and they, are thought-provoking. And if you're ever interested, I actually wrote a book club companion to this book. I have book club questions that I wrote for each chapter. So, just let us know, we'll hook you up. But so this is part of my quirk. And it's this is Mokolohe. This is her little
That's my nod to my mom's Hawaiian heritage and my dad's World War II heritage.
there's
So
a flight jacket on. So this is in the bookstore, by
Yep.
the way.
Yeah.
So
And no can sign it.
yeah, she can.
I get a crown and
Turn
all
on the
this.
back.
Yeah. So thank you, Justin, for bringing that out. So
Yes.
all right, we are going to wrap up here. And there's so much amazing stuff. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for being here at the museum.
Yes.
And for sharing your stories. And I just love it. And one thing we always say is from the monumental to the mundane.
Life is full of unforgettable experiences.
So go share them, go make them, go have them, and
Go be curious, ask questions.
be a positive disruptor.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you
Thank you all
guys
for coming
so
out
much.
today.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for being here too online.
And straight.
Yay.
Yes.
Cool.